Handicamerable, overcoming challenges. Don't be surprised. I can stand and walk short distances, compliments of my multiple sclerosis. I have to take photographs from my chair. Even though I shoot from a chair, I can still hear you and see you, but just remember to look for me at my level. When I was 39, most people with a midlife crisis, they marry a younger man, get a sports car. I joined the Army in 2007. I made it through basic, became an operating room technician. I was then stationed at Walter Reed Army Medical Center in DC. This is the place that if anything is going wrong with you, your brain, help is there. Sometimes MS takes a while to diagnose. I have to say I was lucky. I did not have to go through years of testing. I was in an active flare when I was diagnosed in '08, and about a year later, I was medically discharged and on my way home. Through these pictures, you can see my progression. What's MS? Multiple sclerosis is a neurological disease that destroys the protective sheath around the nerve cells of the brain and spinal cord. It's like plugging in a drop cord that's all frayed into an outlet. What happens is your signals are really slow. And I have, there's no cure. It's unpredictable. And I have balance issues, vision issues, numbness, cognitive issues. So if I ask who you are when I meet you, I'm not trying to be funny. It's just my cog fog. Heat makes this all worse. So in the summer, I adapt by having my husband take me to a cool climate. I was stationed at Walter Reed Army Medical Center in DC. So how can you not want to take pictures and at least document histories? This is what I was doing. The photo bug had not hit me yet. I had started with a Kodak point and shoot. And then when Roy and I started traveling in the summers, I still had the Kodak point and shoot. At about 2011, I got the bug and I wanted to do more. From the Kodiak, I moved to a Nikon Coolpix L840. We found out that the Nikon had no viewfinder and some other issues. So I moved on once I knew that there was more to this Photoshop stuff than just snap and shoot. I was also getting around great. Part of the reason Roy and I started to travel was to keep me active. In 2016, I got my first big girl camera, a Canon Rebel 2.5 DSLR. At this point, my decline had not yet started. This camera was just in time to take with me on my first bear viewing trip on Kodiak Island, the image on the left. I was actually hooked on nature and bears. I also started, in 2018, I turned 50 and Roy gifted me a trip of my lifetime, Lisa Langel's Magic of Alaska workshop. I discovered I had to start pacing myself. This meant starting to put limits on what I did. I was learning to manage my energy. I had also started using a Tamron 150 to 600 millimeter lens to reach wildlife. I'm not a lens hog. I just don't want to be lunch for the bears. It was an amazing trip with the opportunity to see everything from eagles to bears. The image on the right was shot with the Rebel T5. and a Tamron 150 to 600. This was shot, we were standing on the road, and this was a brand new baby eagle, and we got to see its first days. 2020, I decided to learn some post-production skills and explore the camera more. And at this time, I was starting to shoot from my wheelchair. And I realized that there are different perspectives. As you can see, the picture on the left is Samstown and Christmas. And if you look really close, you can see my reflection of the chair. And then the Alaska Range was taken from the ferry boat when we went up to Alaska. And this picture down in the lower right of the grapevines was the picture that changed my taking photography from the wheelchair, because I realized there is actually a different perspective. Towards the end of 2022, not only had my mobility decreased, my eyes were getting bad, and I had grown out of my other camera. So I got the 20 and I got the R7 mirrorless camera. And I did tell Roy when I got the ADD that I would not grow out of that camera. I lied. And then speaking of decline, in 2024, when we were at Brookings, I wanted to do some long distance shooting with a larger lens, and I just could not hold the lens due to weight, due to balance, due to other issues. So I ended up getting a Nikon Coolpix 1000, and this picture here on the left with the birds, they're they're actually these birds up here. I'm just showing you the zoom and the difference, the difference in the depth you get from, this camera. Perspective. A particular attitude toward or way of regarding something, a point of view, from the Oxford Dictionary. I have always seen the good in everything. I also believe everything happens for a reason. Having to use the chair, though, to take photos that I used to be able to walk to, or being stuck in the parking lot while others are off taking pictures, has stretched my ability to be positive. My perspective isn't always rainbows and unicorns anymore. I do have some dragons. Yes, the chair, the challenges of shooting from the chair provide opportunities gained, but yet they do still show my frustration. And then perspective from Adobe. The spatial relationship between subjects in the frame. It also suggests that the way you compose your image helps your viewer to see the world from a new perspective, yours. I've always had the unique perspective of taking a common object and making somebody see it uniquely. This bridge, for example. I've had to change perspective being stuck in the chair. So, changing perspective, you can too. Get eye level. In a chair, my eye level is right above your waist. So take the time, look, picture things around eye level, and it'll make you actually see that there's a whole new world below your eyes. I also changed perspective by ground level and tracking. This butterfly was in a beach on Brookings, and I'm looking at it. And right now, I kind of keep my eyes towards the ground because I don't want to run them over. But you can find amazing things that are sitting on the ground. Changing perspectives. Get a bird's eye view. Most people say when you take pictures, you don't want to be looking down on an object. But in a way, when you're up there, like this was taken from a ramp looking down on Harris Beach, when you're up there, you can peruse your whole domain. It's almost like an an ever present, your ever presence. You're in control of your domain. Get mobile. I was for this one, I wasn't in a wheelchair, I wasn't walking, I was in a boat. I was in a skiff, and I was able to get close enough to the bears that I didn't get eaten, but it's a different perspective. It's a different mode of transportation. Changing perspectives. Grab a front row seat, move around, find a unique position to shoot from. One advantage to being in a wheelchair is you get to go and say, hey, where can I be out of the way and shoot? Well, this was at a rodeo in Alaska, and they put me front row, and I was able to shoot in between the green stanchions. Keyword, adapt. To make or become suitable, especially to change, so as to fit a new or specific use or situation. Merriam-Webster. In order to take pictures, my answers to the normal preparation questions have become more detailed. Questions I need to ask. What do I need to do to make it accessible? What do I need to get there? What am I going to shoot? What am I going to encounter when I get there? These are all things that, the normal people sort of answer, but I have to answer in more detail. And the most important one is, what cost is it to me both physically and mentally? Finding out the challenges I'm facing for the days help me adapt and figure out what tools I need to get the job done. Or if I'm overwhelmed enough and I just cannot do it. The physical challenges that I need addressed are mobility, shakiness, my heavy equipment, heat intolerance, an energy level, and transportation. This is also where friends come in. They love transporting me. Mobility solutions. You can use a walker. I did for the longest time. This was taken at the PSA Festival in Rapid City. And what it was is I use it when I'm not super tired, or I used to use it when I wasn't super tired. It gives me a little bit extra security, and it has a seat. So if I do need to rest, I can sit on the walker. And now I do a wheelchair. This was taken from a boardwalk of a surfer in Brookings, Oregon. And this has become my go-to mode. I put the bag on the back of my camera, or I'm sorry, the camera on the back of my wheelchair, and we just go to town. View from a car. If I'm too exhausted, what I'll do is I'll sit in the car and I'll just sit and I'll take pictures. And if you look close on the buffalo, this is the reflection of our car in his eye. He was sitting like right next to our vehicle. And this picture if you notice the light, it was perfect. I ended up having Roy drive back and forth across this bridge until I was able to find the perfect spot and the perfect light. And I just snapped the photo. So it's a lot of adapting. You find what you can do to make the situation work for you. Now, addressing my shakiness, I have a remote trigger that I put on a tripod that it steadies it. I don't have to press the camera if I feel shaky that day or if I want the perfect picture. If I'm shooting from the car, I will put the pool noodle over the window glass, and then you put your camera on that. It dampers the vibration. The tripod I use is a Photo Pro Eagle series. It actually has a cup in the where it sits, and you can balance your tripod this way without having to adjust each leg. And then the R7. This is the perfect mirrorless camera for me right now. I know I will probably grow out of it, but mirrorless cameras are great for what you see is what you get, to be level, to be lighter. And then for the really heavy lens, like I said, I have the Nikon P1000 Super Zoom. And this is a picture of the moon zoomed in, taken from this Nikon picture, camera. My heat intolerance, ways I escape the heat. The big one is I leave town in the summer, but I have an umbrella, I have a cooling vest, and I shoot at night. This picture was the Milky Way during the Perseids meteor shower last year. Energy, best thing to do and trying to figure out, this can be for everybody. We all have a certain amount of energy in the morning. Um, I have less than others, and I have, say, as you can see from the poster, 12 spoons. Well, to get up, that costs me like 1 spoon. And to shower, that costs me 3 spoons. To load my chair costs me another 3 spoons. To figure out and get the camera gear, add another 2. So right now I have 4 spoons left. And that's shooting, loading and unloading the wheelchair. So you can see why energy management is very important to me. But what I have to do when I do manage my energy and not have enough spoons, I pace myself. I will take some time the day before and just rest. I will also sleep when I can. And had I not managed my energy, I would not have been able to see fishermen on the Rogue River, this seagull take off of his perch, a cool view of the Oregon coastline, and a redneck rope. I passed on taking the chair and discovering a grove of myrtle trees during this trip up the coast because I didn't have enough energy. So you pick and choose your battles. You pick and choose what you have enough energy for. And my equipment transport, this is how I take my camera stuff. I couldn't show you the camera because Roy actually was using it. Transporting the chair. The old method was I would break down the chair into these four pieces, and then I would load it into a car. Then I would take it out of the car, put it together so it looked like this. When I do that, you can see that it takes, takes my energy level. So thank, thanks to the VA, I have been able to be blessed with this. I'm also getting a new wheelchair that will make places I go to take photographs more accessible to me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Not only, do I have the physical challenges, I also need to adapt to the mental challenges, the invisible battles, the changes that come up as my disease progress. I will sometimes go through all of the battles before I start a shoot, or maybe one or two, or maybe I have a lucky day when none of these battles apply. Not worth the effort, but photos are meant to be shared. Oh, it's just another Milky Way. Oh, I don't need to go. You're just going to be tired when you get home. But then I get a shot like this. I don't want to be a bother. I'm going to need help. People are going to want to know if they can help me. They're going to change how they shoot because they don't want to go a place where I might get stuck. Well, friends do help. And if you do get stuck, I can tell you it takes about four people to get a wheelchair unstuck, or in some cases it only takes one. And here, find people who, the solution is find people who have things in common with you. Find people who are willing to help. And in the photography world, there's always somebody to help you. I can't go on any photography tours. Oh, poor me. Well, the solution to this is you're upfront and you're honest. You let people know that, hey, I have this problem. In my case, I have MS. And when I went on my first bear viewing tour in Kodiak Island, I walked in. It was a half-mile walk in. This was early in the disease. In fact, this was 2016. And I got there and I took all the pictures and I'm sitting there and I'm going, God, I walked in. This is great. Now I have to walk back. Well, the tour guide, because I was up front, he came up to me and he goes, Hey, we have an ATV if you want to ride it back. I do not turn down help, and neither should you. The other three pictures were from Lisa Langel's Magic of Alaska, and up front I told her, "Hey, I have MS. I might not make all of the outings. and I may be a little slow, and they're willing to adapt. If you're up front, most tours are willing to adapt. Or if it gets to the point where it is really bad, they do offer handicapped accessible photo trips. You just need to do some searching. You can join a disabled photography group. So there are always solutions to the issue of, not being able to get out with a group. There's always another challenge for me. And, I never stop adapting. And that in itself can be challenging. I've learned along the way that this journey, when you do adapt, you open new horizons. As my disease is progressing and my wheelchair does not go where I need and want it to go, I'm faced with being frustrated, sometimes that I can't get the shot. So the mental challenge of finding a way to do something that used to be easier challenges me to find a new path and keep going. I just thought I'd share this with you. If there's no path, make one. And then this is what it can do in the real world. It's a four-wheel drive. It goes down hills like that. It goes like you saw in the sand, and for me, it opens new horizons. And no, I will not be playing basketball with it though. It goes up and down stairs, but that is one of the modes I decided not to get. And that's me in my chair. The perfect plan. That leads to perfect segue. When a plan comes together, the hardest thing I did this first summer I was up here in Brookings, I learned how to pick my battles. The starfish that are on this rock, I was taking the images, taking photos from this overlook in my chair, and I zoomed in and I saw the fact that these had starfish. So I'm like, I want to see a tide pool. So in my mind, I'm in my chair and I'm going, it's low tide. The sand looks pretty solid. I can do this. Then I realized that my wheelchair will not get down the path. And even if I figured out how to get the walker out there, I would, have to figure out how to get back. So, but I became a dog with a bone. I had to see tide pools. So what we did is Roy and I and a friend decided to find a place that had a tide pool close to the beach and that I could get to with a friend. So I used my cane and I was able to, I took a week of not doing absolutely nothing, and I was able to go down to the beach and I saw this wonderful crab sticking out of a rock, an oyster catcher, these, grasses with dew on them. And here's some more pictures from there. But it cost me. It cost me a week of recovery. But the thing is, I was able to do it. And if you adapt and challenge your idea of what you can do and can't do, there is always satisfaction. And then some plans are not so perfect. But regardless of whether you do or don't, you don't fail. You succeed in trying and you learn what to do different next time. I went with a friend to Noah Poravoy Outdoor Museum near 29 Palms. I had been out to the Salton Sea to East Jesus, and I know they had mats down, and my wheelchair could get there. So I thought that I could do this one. I was wrong. But what it taught me was to be able to figure out what I can do better next time. So if I go next time, I will have my new wheelchair, or I can use Roy's scooter or my walker if I have the energy. But I didn't fail. I just learned I want to go back there. I just need to plan better. And that brings us to doing your research. We were in Homer, Alaska, and at the the Islands and Ocean Visitor Center, they have a great museum there, and they have a boardwalk that goes down to the beach. So I asked if it was handicapped accessible, and I was told, well, there's some steep areas up top, but go 2 blocks over and you can start the path there and work your way up until it's too steep. And then you can also work your way to the beach. Well, you have to remember handicapped accessible is not always handicapped accessible. The first part of the boardwalk was great. It was on a steel grate and stuff. And then when I went to go to the beach one, there was a lip I could not get over with my wheelchair. So I hopped back in the car, and then we went to the end of it and found out there was a 6-inch drop at the end due to beach erosion. The only good part with that is I was able to go up and let them know at the visitor center, and that was going to be one of their projects for their youth corps the following summer to fix that so other people could actually approach and find that. And now here's some suggestions to gather information to help you with your research. National park websites. They also have a section that's accessibility for all of the national parks. You've got state parks, you've got visitor centers. You can call your Chamber of Commerce, word of mouth. You can talk to people in PSA. They have a whole division of travel experts. And I'm also putting together a list in this area of handicapped accessible places to go shoot. And after all these suggestions, I have one more. Explore your area once you're there. Remember, know your limits. The tools and trails are there. A few things for you to prepare for your trip or just a day outing. You want to get in shape, check with your doctor, and share your plans. And then after the trip, you want to edit your image, recover with downtime, and share your images. When I say get in shape, as we age or any of the challenges we have, there are gyms that specialize in just, like for me, it's some neurological disorders that help me with my balance. You also have senior gyms and senior, physical therapy. And I want to do a big thanks to my husband, Roy Skelton. Without him, I'd be sitting in the corner sucking my thumb. Chris Anderson, he's a fellow photographer who actually told me I should really do a PowerPoint about, shooting from my chair. Jim Fiddler, he was a fellow camera photographer, and he recently passed away, but he was the one who got me involved in our local camera club. Lisa Langell, she's been a mentor and a friend, and that's it. So if you want to reach out to me if you have any questions, if you know someone who is struggling, or if you have any suggestions. This is my contact information. And here's that slideshow I talked about earlier.